and buyer for delivery of goods under sales contract. They provide common set of rules that clarify responsibilities. They apportion transportation costs, responsibility associated with delivery of goods between the buyer and seller, and they reflect modern day transportation practice. Now, there are two groups. We have the first group, is called monomodal. A multimodal is used on different modes: road, rail, inland waterway, air. Then the other one is only on sea and inland waterway, all called monomodal. So you have exports, free carrier, carry paid to, carry insurance paid to, deliver at place unloaded, deliver duty paid, free alongside ship, free on board, cost and freight, cost insurance and freight. So I will do a demonstration, I will use a simulation demonstration. So let's look at this. Imagine that this is an exporter. This exporter, let's say, is in China, China, and there's an importer in Nigeria that is buying from this exporter. If they agree exports, the Nigerian importer will fly into China, pay for these goods while the good is at the warehouse. As soon as the goods arrive at the warehouse, the risk and cost of the exporter has ended. The Nigerian importer is the one that will arrange for the moving of these goods from the warehouse to the port, clearing to custom in China, and moving it to Nigeria. Exports. In free carrier, exporter risk and cost end when you get to a terminal in China. When you get to a terminal in China, that means from that point on, the importer takes responsibility. He's still going to arrange for the moving of the goods from that point to the port and from the port to Nigeria. Free alongside ship, the exporter's risk and cost end when the good gets to the port. This time around, the good is not on the ship, the good is on the ship side, on the floor, on the quay, overlooking the vessel. But not loaded on the ship. And from that point on, the importer bears the cost and reach the destination. Then we have CPT, carry paid to.
Sorry, you say free on what?
Free alongside ship.
Free alongside ship.
CPT, carry paid to. What happened to carry paid to? Exporters bear the cost of transport to Nigeria, but its cost is risk end at a terminal in China. His risk ends at a terminal in China. Then CIP, carrying insurance paid to. Exporter bear the risk at the cost and insurance, cost of transport and insurance to destination, but the risk end in China. The risk end in China. Now, the familiar ones, FOB. In FOB, exporter risk and cost end while the goods are loaded on board the vessel. The exporter's risk and cost end while the goods are loaded on board the vessel. The exporter risk and cost end where the goods are loaded. But look at CFR, the one we do in Nigeria. The exporter's risk, the exporter bears the cost of transport to Nigeria, but his risk end while the goods are loaded on board the vessel. CFR. In CIF, the exporter bears the cost of transport to Nigeria plus insurance to Nigeria, but the risk end while the goods are loaded on board the vessel. You notice in CIF and CIB, even though the exporter is not bearing the cost, the risk of the good in transit to destination, yet he is bearing what? The cost. Who will be the first loss payee of the insurance? The importer. Because he's not the one bearing the risk. He will have been paid. The importer is the first loss payee, even though the exporter is the one paying for the insurance. Now, up until this point, the risk of the exporter ends in his country. But from DAP, DDP, and DPU, the risk of the exporter extends to destination. So he deliver at place. Look at what happened here. The Chinese exporter will ship it to Nigeria and deliver it to a location in Nigeria that will go there. The exporter will move it to their port, pay for the cost of moving it to Nigeria. The importer will clear the goods, but he will be the one to still move it to the final destination in Nigeria. So you bear the risk to the final destination in Nigeria and bear the cost, risk and cost final destination in Nigeria. In GPU, the exporter will not just bear the risk of delivering to a location in Nigeria. He will bear the cost of unloading it from the truck into the warehouse. Into the warehouse of the importer. So he will bear the cost of moving it to the destination and bear the risk of moving to that destination. This cost is not just moving to the destination, he will also bear the cost. This is what I call deliver at place unloaded. Deliver at place unloaded. The last one is deliver duty paid. What happens deliver duty paid? Extra bear the cost of moving to destination, bear the cost of clearing at destination. In DAP and DPU, even though the exporter bear the cost and risk to destination, he will not bear the cost of clearing at destination. But in DDP, he will bear the cost and risk to destination, bear the cost of clearing, and bear the risk to the final destination. Now, if you do transaction with Shell, Chevron, and some of these multinationals, because of the issue at the port, they don't want to get involved. So they will give DDP to an importer contractor in Nigeria. That contractor will come to the bank and do CFR. Do you understand? Yeah. They do the DDP. So as far as Shell is concerned, they deliver when the good gets to my warehouse in Port. That's as far as Shell is concerned. But the importer will first of all use CFR to bring it into Nigeria. And then he will now deliver to the location that Shell wants. So that means in that transaction, there is a GDP leg and there is what? A CFR leg. There is a GDP leg, there is a CFR leg. But in Nigeria, CFR and CPT is allowed for import. Export does not have any restriction. Export you can use any importer. What is important is that the money come back. As far as the government is concerned, the money should come back. Whatever importer you want to do, that's your headache. But for export, you can only use, for import, you can only use CFR and CPT. You can only use CFR and CPT.